And we are live. Welcome to the slightly delayed NBA strategy show. It is Monday, March 10th. I am Josh Engleman, here to break down a 10-game slate, but 12 total games going today. It is a massive one, a massive, massive slate. We got a lot to talk about. I'm going to do my best to talk about it as long as I possibly can. So hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell so you know when everything goes live. Follow me on Twitter at Josh Engleman. Thanks for putting up with me today, folks. Apologies for not being here yesterday for the strategy show. That would have been completely impossible. I thought I was going to be okay for live before lock because I was going to be covering for EMAC. That was also not able to be done. I had no ability to talk yesterday. My throat was ruined. It's not exactly great right now. I'm a little curious what this next hour's worth of talking is going to do because I haven't been doing that much since Saturday night. I don't know what happened. I woke up Saturday night, midnight ish, and all hell broke loose. I could not keep anything in my body. It was bad. Tossed the cookies over and over and over and over again over the course of midnight to sunrise. Sometimes couldn't, took two steps off the couch and then it was just on me and in me and all over my floor and bathroom. It was bad. It was bad. No, it was all, I was trying to drink as much water as I could. It would just come right back out. So from all of that, it ruined my throat. Absolutely, positively ruined it. I couldn't eat. I tried chicken noodle soup last night. I couldn't even drink that. The chicken in it was just so dry to the back of my throat that I couldn't even do that. So I have not. I've essentially not eaten in like 2 days. I've essentially no liquids in my body at this point, but we're working on that. Um, I don't think I pinned down. I mean, there is only one possible source. So I don't know if it was something in that food or I just caught like a 24-hour stomach bug or something. Cause I had like a standard brunch, potatoes, egg, chicken breast, gravy, all that good stuff. Ooh, probably, yeah, that would have been an interesting one. I am ready for a colonoscopy. No problem with the poops. Not that anybody cares. It was just nausea. I don't know. It stunk. So I'm moving pretty slow today. Talking sucks. We're working on it. I've been eating as many cough drops as I can just to numb the back of my throat. I'm going to work my way through this. It is not going to be a highly detailed NDA strategy show for two reasons. One, obviously, I don't have it in me right now. But two, the slate is massive. There's a bunch of teams on back to backs. The injury report today is next level stupid. I mean, just a never ending supply of Q tags and dudes that are out. So much so that the opinions that I'm going to gather at this point in time today are probably not going to carry a ton of weight by the end of the day. So let's just dive into it. We'll work our way through it slowly. If I miss anything that you guys think is like really obvious, just let me know. But the brain's not working great. I got a really good night's sleep last night to a degree, in that the wife was nice enough to not let me have to deal with the puppy until the morning. But I never had a fever. But every 30 minutes, I would wake up just absolutely drenched in sweat. And it just happened like starting at 9 o'clock last night, then 9:30, 10, 10:30, 11, 11:30, 12. Every one of them, I just woke up like I jumped in a pool. So good deep sleep, but it was eventful. Anyway, let's get into it. Game number one. Thank you guys for putting up with me. Thanks for being here, everybody. We'll get back to normal here. Starting tomorrow, I hope. Or at the very least for deeper dive later tonight. Sixers, 9.5 point underdogs in Atlanta, 234 total. It's the second fastest game from a pace perspective. Now, Philly's on a back-to-back. We do not know who is going to be playing for the Philadelphia 76ers today. So that part's never fun. So we have to make some educated guesses. Not to mention, we're not entirely sure how many minutes some of these Sixers guys are going to be playing moving forward. Tyrese Maxey conceivably can be playing today. He's missed the last 3. Paul George is going to be out. We don't know the status of Andre Drummond. And after that, it starts to get weird. This is going to be, like last night we got 32 minutes out of Adam Bona. I don't know if he's doing that again today. Is Yabu going to be good? I don't know. So this becomes pretty tricky to talk about. We did see a little bit of ownership coming into Lonnie Walker and a little bit of ownership coming into Andre Drummond if he plays. For right now, I think it's really difficult to even hypothesize what you want to do with Philly. Obviously, Maxey being in or out will have a major effect on minutes and rates, all that stuff. We have no idea what they really want to do from a minutes perspective. There will be some value here, almost no matter what. Like, one of the centers will likely look good, depending on what we hear. I mean, we got 10 minutes out of Drummond. If Drummond doesn't play today, Adam Bonen's going to look decent at 3,400. I'd be a little surprised if anybody from Philly ends up looking like an overwhelmingly great play. But it's possible, depending on how many people sit. I don't want to dig in too much here because it's not even just like, oh, there's a bunch of Q tags. This is not even a Q tag thing. This is a back-to-back no injury report thing. So we want to keep our eyes on this. We don't know what's going on with the centers. We don't know what's going on with Tyrese Maxey today. That information will be very important and will be much more relevant on the deeper dive. Then we go to the Atlanta side. Not ATK, ATL. I can't even type. So Atlanta. This one will also be a little weird. Trey is questionable. Vit Krejci is questionable. Now, Krejci has been out for a bit with a lumbar fracture. So I didn't really project him in. Conceivably, he could get a little bit of run. I don't know who they're going to trim. We are seeing pretty significant ownership coming into Onyeka Okongwu. He's still sub 7K. He's in at 6,800 today on DraftKings, 7,500 on FanDuel. FanDuel, though, you buy the power forward eligibility, which is helpful. And I think that Okongwu ownership looks spot on. He's a great per minute guy. The matchup is obviously exceptional. The minutes are there. His rates are there. All of it looks good. Ends up ranking 4th coming out of the boom bust tool, at least to start the day. Completely agree. I think he's going to look interesting all day. Now, if we create more value, it might start to look a little bit different, but it's a really nice matchup here against Philly. After that, if everybody's in, you're getting just shy of 10% to Trey, just shy of 10% to Dyson Daniels, just shy of 10% to Mo Gay, who's been picking up a couple extra minutes lately. Those guys are all fine. Totally reasonable in that 5 to 10% range. But if Trey ends up out, we're going to get a lot of this. Dyson Daniels will look better. Karis LeVert will become a thing. Terrence Mann probably becomes a very important value option at 3,900. So we kind of need this news on Trae Young because that will dictate what we actually get from Atlanta. But whether Trae is in or not, Onyeka Okongwu is a bit of a priority today. The Utah Jazz are 17.5-point underdogs in Boston. 228 total. Utah does not have an injury report. They're on a back-to-back, which means we have no idea if Lauri Markkanen's playing, Walker Kessler, John Collins, Colin Sexton, insert like a bunch of other guys here for Utah. I have nothing. I can't even talk about the Jazz right now. As of right now, the way that we have it projected, 52% of their fantasy points, and 48% of their minutes are all questionable right now, in theory. So we're going to kick that one to the deeper dive and live before lock. There's nothing we could even hypothesize for Utah. Nothing. Boston's not much better for us today. Well, at least we'll have a little bit of an idea here. Al Horford is questionable today with a big toe sprain. Porzingis is doubtful with that illness, which what did this dude get? Did he get whatever I got? And then Jason Tatum questionable as well. Clearly, the Q tags on Jason Tatum and Al Horford will affect value options here. You know, if Horford and Tatum end up out, we're probably taking a look at like Luke Cornett or Kada. You know, Jaylen Brown will obviously get a pretty big bump there, as will Derek White. You don't expect a ton of minutes for Drew Holiday in a game like this. So I'm doubtful that he would ever look like crazy good. Pritchard obviously can get that increased minutes run and look a little bit better. But we need the news. If everybody's in, Tatum probably looks a little bit better than Jaylen Brown. You don't love playing any of these Boston guys against this garbage Utah team, depending on who's playing for the Jazz. But if Tatum ends up out, you know, I'm expecting Jaylen Brown to be a top 20 play today, maybe even top 15. Derek White will obviously get a massive rate bump. We could get value out of the centers. But again, it's all just hypotheticals for right now. It's really, really difficult to pinpoint anything specific for Boston. There are some games where we'll be able to talk about it and just we know what we're getting. This is another one where we don't have that. We don't have it for Philly. We don't have it for Atlanta. We don't have it for Utah. And for the most part, we don't have it for Boston right now. This is a really large, injury-filled, massive slate. So we go to game 3. Lakers, 6-point favorites in Brooklyn, 215.5 total. This is the third slowest game on the slate. This is the second lowest total behind Orlando and Houston. Now, we do know some things for the Lakers. Not enough, though. Rui out. LeBron out. Jackson Hayes questionable. Dorian Finney-Smith out. Luka questionable. So even if we just want to think about the things that are already projected, we're already missing out. We already have a Q tag on 34% of the Lakers' fantasy points. Clearly, a 12K Luka with no LeBron is interesting if he's playing. But he's only 5% owned, 5% optimal, 23 boom. You need 70 out of him. It's a great matchup for him against Brooklyn in that Brooklyn's not very good. Defense isn't bad, but pace sucks. Brooklyn's defense is better than it seems, but it's still Luka Doncic. The guy you want from the Lakers is going to be Austin Reeves. 7,500, point guard, shooting guard eligible. You know, steps into the number 2 role instead of the number 3 role. We got him ranked 10th coming out of the boom bust tool. So Austin Reeves will be your Lakers priority. But, you know, if Jackson Hayes doesn't play, we're probably taking a look at Trey Jamison or potentially Alex Len. You know, if Luka ends up sitting, we clearly like Reeves, but we're going to get a little bit more value on a Dalton Connect. Gabe Vincent probably becomes a little bit more interesting. Jordan Goodwin probably gets his minutes back. So the Lakers could go from largely uninteresting outside of Austin Reeves to way too many minutes to go around for all these guys. My face is tingling. It feels really odd. Feels really odd. So yeah, Lakers, look, we need more news. That's the theme of this show. We need way more news than we have right now. But if Luka's, do you guys like Luka if he's in? Happy birthday, man. You and I both entering our 40s at the same time. I like it. Let's take a look at Brooklyn. They're a little bit easier to talk about because at least their dudes are just in and real. Claxton's available. Cam Thomas not going to be playing for this one. Trendon Watford also not going to be in this one. We're getting roughly 15% ownership to D'Angelo Russell. That's good enough to get him to 15th overall, 16% optimal, 30% boom. You're looking for 37 fantasy points here out of Russell. He would be the number one guy from Brooklyn. After that, it's tough. Like, $5,900 Cam Johnson's worth 5 to 10. Nick Claxton's worth 5 to 10. Keon Johnson's worth 5 to 10. But, a lot of these guys are going to play 26, 27, 28 minutes. Cam Johnson, probably the only one that you feel confident gets to 30. I mean, the spot is great. I know people are going to think that this Lakers defense is good. It's definitely not good right now. No LeBron, potentially no Jackson Hayes, no Dorian Finney-Smith. Not that you're worried about defense, but it's better for Cam Johnson today than it would have been a week ago. But I can't say that there's a priority from Brooklyn. It's Russell, revenge narrative alert at 5,400, and then a couple last guy in types for the rest of the Nets. Hoy, Charlotte Hornets, 9.5 point dogs in Miami, 216 total. Third lowest total, lowest pace. There's essentially no ownership coming into this one. Now, the Charlotte side, we kind of know. Nurk's probable. Okogie's still out. Salon's with the G League team. Otherwise, we know everything. There's no ownership coming into Charlotte. I have them losing 4.4 possessions below their average today. This is about as bad of a spot as Charlotte can get into. We've got 2% ownership coming to Mark Williams, and that is the most of anybody on Charlotte. As best I can tell, Charlotte is largely unrosterable. Yes, you can always click Miles Bridges, LaMelo Ball, or Mark Williams. Actual good, real guys that play 30-plus minutes, they're always available to be rostered. It's just not going to happen a lot. Right now, they're projected for 4% ownership. It's the second lowest number behind Utah. And obviously, Utah is a little different because we don't know who's actually playing for the Jazz today. But what this is telling you pretty clearly is don't play the Hornets. Now, Miami. Alec Burks is questionable. Haywood Highsmith is questionable. Duncan Robinson is questionable. Khalil Ware is back. Wiggins is probable. Jaime Jaquez is available. And Tyler Hero is probable. There's no ownership here coming into Miami. The total is obviously not helpful here. If Haywood Highsmith and Duncan Robinson happen to be out, then maybe we can think a little bit more about getting to something here from Miami. Because 20% of their minutes are questionable, but we're showing no ownership with these guys in. 5% to Tyler Hero. I will add $6,100 Andrew Wiggins got to 20% ownership on FanDuel. He's $500 cheaper and has the MPE. He actually does look good there. But on the DraftKings side for Miami, nobody. Yes, you can play Ware. Yes, you could play Hero. Yes, you could play Bam. I mean, you could play Wiggins and Mitchell if you really need to. None of them look good, though. The highest ranking Miami guy ranks 58th, and that's Tyler Hero. Now, if Highsmith and Robinson are out, then maybe we're bumping up Terry Rozier. Maybe we're bumping up Jaime Jaquez. Maybe we can create something. But if they're in, we're not doing that. Not at all. All right, guys, if you're here, would appreciate it if you guys could hit that like button. It would help me out a ton. We could take a look at OddsShopper and the Portfolio EV tool, see if there's anything interesting out there. We have added a lot of new bets to Portfolio EV. So if you liked it before, you probably like it even more now because we got a lot more going on here. Let's see. Nothing too crazy out there right now, though. I'm just taking a full look at it. It's mostly value at BetMGM. Anything we just talked about? No. Tyler Hero, under 6.5 assists, has a 4 OddsShopper rating. That stands out as not the worst play in the world. The rest of these are all games we haven't talked about yet. So let's keep it moving. Jose, I appreciate it, man. Thanks. Honestly, like right now, I feel fine. I clearly know I didn't feel well. Like my throat still sucks a little bit. And energy wise, I feel weird. But like in terms of sickness, I don't have it right now. Other than the fact that because of talking for the past 20 minutes, my face is tingling like crazy. But like I'm not nauseous or anything. Like I want to eat. It's hard. It's really hard. Like I tried to eat a bagel yesterday. I took one bite of it and I thought I was gonna die. It felt like just loose gravel, glass, nails, pins, whatever could be in my mouth, in my throat. And I love bagels. But I'm gonna try one the moment this show ends. Yeah, in my lifetime, I actually think I might go get one. I get them semi-regularly, but it's probably in my best interest to go get one this afternoon and just get myself back to neutral. Raphael, yeah, I did have soup. I couldn't even eat chicken noodle soup last night. The chicken was too dry in my throat. All right, we actually have a team that we could talk about here. And this is going to be one that we're going to be paying attention to. The Washington Wizards are 6.5-point dogs in Toronto, 232 total. Christian, Gatorade makes my throat burn, oddly enough. I don't know if it was just too acidic. I've been able to do one today so far, but it still feels a little weird. Anyway, Wizards. So no Brogdon, no Rashawn Holmes, no Chris Middleton, no Marcus Smart. As of right now, backup center Tristan Vucevic. Ooh, Jackson Hayes just got ruled out. Lakers are going to look weird. Tristan Vucevic is 35% owned. We have him heavily optimal. I gave him 21 minutes at center. Just a straight backup to Alex Sarr. But that's making Vucevic be one of the more owned dudes on the slate. I don't have much of a problem with that with no Holmes around. I think Tristan Vucevic looks legitimately awesome. I think Justin Champagnie looks okay at 4,100. Power forward only if you're looking for a little bit of value. Jordan Poole is 15% owned. We got him ranked 12th. Happy to get there. 7,200. Not worried about a Raptors team. Sarr's getting 10% ownership. Happy to always have him in that 10 to 15% range. We're getting 5 to 10 on Koulibaly, on Keyshawn George. There's a lot of ownership coming into Washington right now. They are the second most owned team, and for the most part, I get it. Like, I don't think a lot of this is going to go away. Poole's going to be 10 to 15 all day. Sarr will be around 10. Champagnie, I think, will come down a little bit, but I think Vucevic, given his price tag and his per minute rates, he's going to be a priority value play for most of the day. You can easily get Koulibaly or George if you want to. But the Wizards look awesome. And we're not waiting on any Q tags or anything. This is just what they look like right now. So for ranking them, Vucevic, Poole, Sarr, Koulibaly, Champagnie, George, all of these guys going to be rostered. This is one of the better options you can get to today. Under 4.5 assists for Jordan Poole is currently the biggest OddsShopper rating on Portfolio EV right now. 6.7% historical ROI, 7 OddsShopper rating, 4.6 EV. It's the number one play we have. Now on the Toronto side, no Agbaji, no Grady Dick, no Jonathan Mobo, no Jakob Poeltl, no Jacoby Walter. Should we call him Jacoby Walter? It's all the same letters. Yeah, we'll go with that. Jacoby Walter. Anyway, they're all out. That is giving us some ownership here to a bunch of these guys. RJ Barrett's at 30%. He's 7,400. He's shooting guard, small forward eligible. Minutes look great. Rates look great. Position looks great. Matchup was awesome. We've got 3 Toronto Raptors in the top 10 today, in RJ Barrett, in AJ Lawson, and Orlando Robinson. And I see no reason not to get to them. Because of all those guys that are out, AJ Lawson's going to play big minutes. I got him in for 28, 3,500, point guard, shooting guard eligible. Looks like a great value option. Orlando Robinson. We don't have Jakob Poeltl. Robinson and Colin Castleton are going to largely split those center minutes. Robinson's 3,700. He's a fantasy point per minute guy, ranks 8th. He's 20% owned. Looks great. Love Barrett, love Lawson, love Robinson. They all look good. I'm also very happy to get to Scotty Barnes or Emmanuel Quickly in that 10% range. Barnes at 8,500, Quickly at 6,500. They're not like the highest ranked guys in the world, but they are absolutely 10%ers today. The starting 5 for Toronto, assuming it's Barnes, Barrett, Quickly, Lawson, and Robinson, they look really good. This Washington-Toronto game is probably the best DFS game we have, at least as of right now. So we're going to get a lot of Washington, but we're also going to get a lot of the Toronto Raptors. Game number 6, Indiana Pacers. 4.5-point favorites in Chicago, 241 total. This is the second highest total. It is the highest pace. Pacers, though, a little complicated here. Tyrese Halliburton is questionable for today. That is interesting because Tyrese Halliburton has missed the last 2 games. And then TJ McConnell, also questionable with the ankle sprain. McConnell left basically immediately 2 days ago, so we'll see if he's going to be available. Those 2 Q tags will matter quite a bit, depending on how it breaks. If they're all in, we won't be paying that much attention to the Pacers, which is a shame because of this matchup against the Bulls. The Bulls are awful. It's a pace-up spot for the Pacers. Like, all of the Pacers guys look okay. Like Halliburton, Siakam, Turner, Nembhard, Nesmith, Mathurin. I'm fine rostering any one of them, but I'd be shocked if I had more than like 5% of any of them. I'd argue Turner looks the best, but like if we get Halliburton out, Nembhard will look a lot better. Mathurin will look a lot better. McConnell could become a thing off the bench. So we'll need to pay attention to that Halliburton news, considering he's been out for the last 2 games. But if he's in, you're not going to find a Pacer that you love, but you're not going to be mad about the Pacer that you get if it's the last guy in your lineup. Now on the Bulls side, Lonzo remains doubtful. Obviously, Ayo Dosunmu's out. Vooch is now questionable, so that'll make this center rotation real fun. Kobe White is probable. Patrick Williams is questionable. We did get Trey Jones as the highest owned guy from the Bulls, right at 10%. He's 4,800. He's playing the minutes in place of Lonzo right now. I think 10% of Trey Jones looks fine. I think 10% of Giddey is okay, but 8,500 point guard only. The minutes have been there, but we're at the upper bound of his playing time and price. Buzelis is always worth like 5%. I don't think we can do any of the centers if Vooch is in. I don't expect full run out of Vooch if he plays today. And then I don't know what they're going to do with Zach Collins or Jalen Smith. So center's kind of a no-go. If these guys are out, maybe we could talk about Herter. Right now, I don't think that's really that possible. So it's kind of like, you want to get a little Trey Jones, a little Giddey, a little Buzelis, maybe a little Kobe White. That's probably the extent of it. There's not a priority, though, coming from Chicago. We're way more likely to get a priority from Indiana if Tyrese Halliburton ends up out. Now we get to the second slowest game on the slate, the lowest total of the day. The Orlando Magic, 5-point underdogs in Houston, 213 total. So for Orlando, we don't have anything here. It's their normal rotation. For Houston, no Reed Shepherd, broke his thumb. Amin Thompson's out with the ankle sprain. Fred VanVleet is questionable with the ankle sprain. We got 10% ownership coming into Cole Anthony, 10% ownership coming into Franz Wagner, 5 to Paolo. Now, these guys are way more owned on FanDuel. Franz is 4th overall and 30% owned. He's $300 cheaper and has an MPE. So Franz on FanDuel looks great. On DraftKings, I do prefer Franz pretty easily to Paolo Banchero. The price is cheaper. They're the same per minute dudes. They play the same minutes, but he's on a better position. So Franz looks better than Paolo. Cole Anthony's fine. You know, again, if you get one of those weird 31-minute games, you feel a lot better. I got him in for 28, completely reasonable 10%er. After that, I'm going to nothing from Orlando. Can you take a flyer on Wendell Carter Jr.? Sure. You think you're going to do that a lot? No, probably not. Definitely not against Houston. And then, KCP is one of the worst per minute guys in the league, so don't do that. But we're talking about a pace down, really big defensive game. This is not that good. Now, Houston, you would think could create some value, and maybe they do if Fred VanVleet ends up out. But if Fred VanVleet ends up in, I think the pace down defensive matchup really removes Houston from being interesting. Highest ranked guy we have is Tari Eason, 51st. He's 4% owned. He's 4% optimal. Now, if we take 30 plus minutes of Fred VanVleet off of this slate, then we might have a conversation about Aaron Holiday. We're going to look at Jalen Green a little bit differently. Jabari Smith probably looks a little bit better. Cam Whitmore likely becomes a value play if we lose Fred VanVleet. So that news will be huge. I think Aaron Holiday will likely be the guy that benefits the most in that scenario. But otherwise, these guys don't look all that good. I mean, we didn't get anybody over 5x value. Şengün's 9,500. That's really difficult to want to get to. He ranks 72nd. Muhammad, I don't agree with you. I don't think Şengün looks good. He's good, but this matchup, this game, this total, this pace, that price, I don't even know how you do it. So we need the Fred VanVleet news. That's the most important thing we're waiting for from Houston. We head to Phoenix. 5-point dogs in Memphis, 242.5 total. This is your highest total of the day. We barely have any ownership coming into Phoenix. Now, this is the spot where for this game, for the next game we talk about, for the next 3 games are basically non-talkable. Phoenix on the back-to-back. No injury report for Phoenix. No injury report for Memphis. We have no injury report for Denver and OKC. We have no injury report for Dallas and San Antonio. We don't have Portland. We don't have Sacramento. Just about all the teams that we have left to talk about, we don't have injury reports for. So I am going to spend very little time here unless there are some obvious things we could talk about. Assuming Phoenix is at full strength today. Do I know that they are? No, they're perpetually injured. You could tell me Bradley Beal doesn't play today. That would make a whole bunch of sense. But if everybody is in for Phoenix, no one is more than 7% owned on DraftKings. No one has more than 7% optimal on DraftKings. Durant and Beal both crested 10% ownership on FanDuel. This is the same Phoenix team you always see. If you want to play somebody here from the Suns, it's probably going to be Kevin Durant, Devin Booker, maybe Bradley Beal. I'm probably not going anywhere else. There is some okay value between Mason Plumlee and Nick Richards, but I think we're just going to have way too many better center plays today. The highest ranked guy on Phoenix from the DraftKings side is 42nd ranked Kevin Durant. So maybe they free something up for the injury report, but we do not know that as of yet. Similarly, for Memphis, we do not know who is going to be on their injury report. They're on the back-to-back. Kennard didn't play yesterday. Santi Aldama didn't play yesterday. Whether or not those guys play today, I don't know. You're always live to see somebody else sit for the back-to-back as well. But $7,900 shooting guard Desmond Bane looks awesome if he's playing. He's playing 36 minutes a night. He's just out there. No matter what, you're getting Bane. So I look at Bane and think, yeah, he should be 25% owned. He ranks 7th. I think Ja looks good. He should probably be like 15% owned. He ranks 18th, 8,600, point guard only. The minutes are certainly there for Ja. Matchup's great for Ja. So I think Bane and Morant look like pretty big priorities here. Now, I did not project Santi Aldama in for today. In theory, he can play. I just don't know if he is. And that might change things up a little bit here. I think Brandon Clark could be interesting if Aldama's out again. Pippen's minutes have crept up a little bit. If you get no Kennard, I think that could be a little interesting. But again, we need this news. But regardless of the news, if Desmond Bane and Ja Morant are in, it does not matter what other news happens. Those guys both look good, and Bane is a top 10 play. Game number 9, rematch of yesterday. Denver Nuggets, 8.5-point dogs in OKC, 238 total. Clearly, we have no idea what this is going to look like. We got 7 minutes out of Aaron Gordon yesterday. Going to go ahead and assume that he's not going to play today. So, we got Jokic coming off of 41 minutes yesterday. We got Jamal Murray coming off of 42 minutes yesterday. We don't have a lot of ownership projected to Denver right now, but in theory, it could look a little bit better. Obviously, the matchup sucks. We're getting 10% ownership to a $12,900 Nikola Jokic. That is quite the price tag. Still looks good. 10 to 15% ownership on Jokic makes a lot of sense, but you need real success here. But he ranks 11th because that raw point ceiling is massive. Russell Westbrook ranks 19th. I think he looks pretty interesting as a value option, assuming we have no Aaron Gordon. Russell Westbrook's 5,500. And then I think MPJ, 6,300, small forward, power forward eligible. His minutes have been up lately as well. I think Russ and MPJ look pretty good in that 10 to 15 range. Jokic in that 10 to 15 range. Got a tough time wanting to get to Jamal Murray or Christian Brown, though. 5%ers at best. And then there's nothing else on the bench. There's no Najee or Pickett or Watson or anything like that. But again, we need the injury report. Yeah, I think Westbrook did too, Steven. Now, on the OKC side, again, we have no idea who's going to be in. I left Chet out for the back-to-back. It's certainly possible somebody else sits the back-to-back. Caruso doesn't necessarily have to play this one either, but could. We're getting 10% ownership to Jalen Williams, 10% ownership to Shea, nothing to anybody else. I think that makes sense. They're the only two guys that I would really love to get to. I do think Hartenstein's at least a little interesting at 7K, assuming Chet doesn't play. Cason Wallace, not a good enough per minute guy to care today. But we need to know if anybody else is going to be in or out, or if Chet's playing. Both of those things will matter. I do prefer Jalen Williams to SGA. 10% owned, 17% optimal, 8,500 small forward, power forward eligible. He ranks 16th. Shea ranks 20th. Next highest guy is 82nd. So it's, as of right now, just Jalen and Shea. But if we lose people for the back-to-back, we might create a little bit more value here. We just need to know who's actually playing. Finally, we get to Dallas and San Antonio. The Dallas Mavericks. Now, this one is legit impossible to talk about, and we'll go over why in a second. But this is 6.5-point dogs in San Antonio, 228 total. Now, this is the final game of the slate, but we have real problems in Dallas today. So I projected 9 players. Caleb Martin is at the very least going to be limited or unable to play. Dwight Powell seems like he's going to be limited or unable to play. Brandon Williams left yesterday in the third quarter, so we have no idea if he is going to be available. There are murmurings that like PJ Washington might be available. In theory, Kai Jones might be available. All signs today point to Dallas having 8 bodies and potentially 7 real bodies. And honestly, maybe 6. Like if Brandon Williams is out, I think Caleb Martin and Dwight Powell are going to play like 24 minutes combined. So it's impossible to talk about Dallas specifically other than pretty much no matter what news comes out, Najee Marshall is going to look amazing. Max Christie is going to look amazing. Kessler Edwards is going to look pretty good, if not amazing. Clay is going to look like a 20% owned guy. Oddly enough, Dinwiddie will still suck depending on how many guys are out. Maybe that gets you there. I don't know how many minutes Dante Exum can play. So this is an absolute mess. We just, we have no idea who can be here for Dallas, but we know that it's not going to be a lot of people. Yeah, but Steven, can he do that on a back-to-back? Like, I really just don't. We don't know what Dallas is going to look like, but we do know this. They're probably going to be the highest owned team here. And barring anything on Christie and Marshall and Kessler Edwards, like, they're just going to be default plays. They're not broken price tag guys, but they are like, I don't know how you get away from this value type dudes. So pay very close attention to Dallas. We are clearly going to need that news. And then we can close this out. Final game, San Antonio Spurs. No injury report, so we have no idea who's available here. It's a really awful show. Going to assume that everybody plays. And if everybody plays, no one got to double-digit ownership. I would argue that $6,100 Devin Vassell should be getting more ownership than 9%. Shooting guard, small forward, minutes have been back. But like $8,900 De'Aaron Fox is not all that interesting. I think you can play a little bit of Castle, a little bit of Chris Paul. You know, like take a flyer on Keldon Johnson maybe if you just want like late ownership. I mean, this track meet of games, we got to remember, none of these games are at 7. We have 5 games that lock at 7:30, 4 more at 8 o'clock, and then 8:30 late night hammer. So this slate, while it seems like it would be awesome for late swaps, it's oddly not. But you will have a lot of ownership wrapped up in Dallas, which will be helpful for moving stuff around. But yeah, Devin Vassell ranked 14th coming out of this one. Other than that, highest ranked guy was Paul at 37, and that's not all that fun. The slate's nuts. It's going to be awesome by the time we get to the deeper dive and live before lock and playback. We'll have a lot to talk about for late swaps and ownership and stuff, but we need so many injury reports right now that this is sort of the best that we could do to get through this one. Thank you guys for watching and putting up with me. I apologize for the late start. I did as well as I could. I think I'm going to go and get an IV this afternoon, and that will probably help me out considerably. But if you guys could hit the like button, that would be great. Sign up for Portfolio EV or OddsShopper. You can get the Sims or OddsShopper's Portfolio EV tool for free by signing up through one of our partners, and you can stack these. You can sign up at every single thing you see on this screen if they're available to you, and you'll get a free month over and over and over again. Wish me luck on this one, folks. We're going to get some fluids in. I'm going to try to get some food in. And we're going to try to get through this day. But thank you guys for being here. I appreciate y'all. Do me a favor. Go tell Aton I said hi.